Oh yeah.
Oh no. Oh yeah. I thought I'd
Oh
just
yeah.
hang up on you again. Oh Jesus.
All good, man.
What's up?
Not much at all. How you doing, man?
Pretty good.
Yes, for
I'm
the moment.
Jared, by the way.
I am
Just
Josh. It's good to be here, man.
there's Memorial Day. I tell you,
Yeah.
I still don't know after all these years what the appropriate salutation on Memorial Day is, because I've had people say you don't say Happy Memorial Day, but I'm like, it seems like y'all are kind of happy. I don't know, whatever.
Should I say Mary?
Yes, this is the uh, equivalency I was given was like, you don't tell a Jewish person Happy Yom Kippur. Like, what? I'm not Jewish. I don't know. Just anyway.
I'll take your word for it.
Point being, if it's a holiday where you have to stop by Walmart to get cool colored berry drinky drink, then you can say happy. How about that?
Seriously, man.
To me at least.
Have yourself a nice Memorial Day.
Write a song about it. Want to hear it? Here it go. I already have time.
I never wrote no song about that. I think it's good right now. I love that. That's one of my favorite jokes from that show. I still think about that all the time.
Man, one of the things I'll get off my chest and shut up about, because it'll be kind of quick.
My chest. Oh, firehouse. Sorry.
I got the Last Dance documentary wrapped up and done. And it was one of those kind of things, even when I set the DVR to record it, I'd always forget what it was called. And I'd go to watch it and be like, what the hell is that? Oh, yeah. That's my Michael Jordan show. Man, I really feel they ended on a good note. It was, once it's all done, you're kind of like, did this really need to be 10 hours? But I think it's just me just trying to find something to gripe about it, because I liked so much of it. I had such a good time watching it. The only problem is kind of like, maybe this is a little long-winded, but I was kind of happy to see something go across Facebook as I was scrolling, where somebody finally kind of pointed out, like, throughout the entire 9 hours, you have Jordan sitting there in his mansion, wherever it is, and something's up with his eyes. I don't know if they're jaundice or what it is, but it looks like it hurts, and they're like, yellow, and that's the first thing that I've always been told is the telltale sign when it comes to that. And somebody else pointed it out, so I was like, well, good. I wasn't the only one thinking that. It's because it looks like something's going on. I don't want anybody to have to go through that, but at the same time, it don't seem to be bothering, because he is like still smoking up a storm, and he'll be sitting there talking with the guys, and he's got his cigars going, and he's got his whiskey that is kind of like, and it's in the glass, and sometimes it's boop, 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 boop. So which part of the interview we had, it's kind of going up and down. But one of the big things from I think it was episode 9, I had no idea who Steve Kerr's dad was. I learned a lot about that, and if it took sitting through 9.5, 10 hours of a Michael Jordan documentary, then man, I think it was worth, because I already liked Steve from the get-go.
Oh yeah.
And his father, especially on a Memorial Day, somebody to remember, is Malcolm Kerr. He was the born in Beirut, Lebanon, a professor at Princeton, and in 1984 joins the American University of Lebanon in Beirut. And kind of a bad time to be going over there in the middle of a civil war. And his dad was on the job for I think it was less than 2 weeks, and he was shot and killed. And just that part of the story, even all these years later, it's like, how could I never have heard this before? I had no idea who he was. and it's just that little bit of learning. I was like, man, well, this was worth it. This was worth sitting here and uh, it's if if you haven't looked it up, and it's worth going and looking at just because it was just a really neat part of the story. Like, man, this is I really it makes me mad some of the people that kind of try to take shots at Jordan for having his creative control. And this isn't a true documentary if you have creative control and you're the subject of the documentary who has all this power. Like, yes and no. When it comes to the people that he really respects and is cool with, then they're going to get their story told. And people were taking shots at Jordan for the way Pippen comes off in the documentary. Like, he used the clips of stuff that Pippen said. This wasn't even stuff that Pippen said 30 years ago. This is stuff Pippen said when he sat down to do the interview. So, good God, what's he supposed to do? So, anyway, point is, what I'm getting at is I enjoyed the heck out of it, and it's a fun documentary to go sit back and watch. And people like Ken Burns were on Twitter like, this isn't true documentarianism. He's the subject of the documentary, and he has all this power. Like, well, you weren't saying all this shit when they were doing it with Hillary Clinton. So go zoom in on a still photograph and go have a Coke and a smile. So, anyway.
Yeah,
I got that in.
I still have yet to see anything from The Last Dance because basically you nailed it. And like I said, I pegged this from the beginning. I am not putting up with 9.5 hours of Michael Jordan sucking his own cock. I don't care how much they tell me about Steve Kerr because I like Steve Kerr. I already know about Steve Kerr. But if you make the documentary, if you've got that much to say about Kerr, you can say this about Harper, this about Kukoc, this about any of them. Who doesn't know everything about Michael already? Everyone knows everything about Michael Jordan already. Tell me about those other guys because despite what anybody thinks, it is the best team of all time. The best team.
Yes.
Michael Jordan is the prettiest exclamation point in the history of basketball, but he ain't even the capital letter on that team.
Yep.
He's not. It's like Kawhi with the Raptors last year. Kawhi Leonard was not the end-all, be-all. He was a fantastic finisher. But it's Eckersley, man.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get to the ninth inning, X nothing. And it was the same thing. Kawhi was a great, again, I use that point all the time, or that analogy all the time. Kawhi was a really, really good exclamation point at the end of a lovely sentence. We play against the Raptors all the darn time. We know how good they are and how long they've been that good.
Yeah.
Bulls are the same way, man. But I'm hoping that my genuine hope is that someone is going to become somebody at HBO. Hopefully, will become interested enough because there's a reason that ESPN did that documentary at HBO. Because I don't care who Michael thinks he is. You think you're gonna go freaking what the heck's his name? Harvey Weinstein on an HBO doc? No, you're not. I don't care who you are. As far as have a smoke and a smile, brother. Bye.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping somebody at HBO is going to pick up the documentary for the '94 Bulls because that's a team that really should be profiled and be given more love. Because whatever will they do without Michael? Well, they did it without him. They showed you. If the league had not gone straight 1985, Patrick Ewing to the Knicks, and I mean literally like shoehorned the Knicks into that final, they might have won a chip with that. I don't think they would have beat Houston, but they might have. They might have. But yeah, man, I'm glad that Kerr got a moment in the sun. I hate that it requires him to go to San Antonio and win a ring without any of them, and then coach, the Warriors to get that moment in the sun. But good on him because Steve's a hell of a player. Kukoc is the one that's a documentary. By God, that's a documentary that needs to be made, man. It's just like that guy was so underrated. But like we've talked about, that team top to bottom, there is so much skill and talent on that team. It's impossible. They were so awesome.
Yeah, and that's a little bit of a kind of how I was feeling all along with people bashing Jerry Krause, and that they try to kind of tie that up. And that's where some of the people kind of think, I don't know if this really went down that way. Where you have the Reinsdorf little testimonial at the end, like, I tried to get them all to come back. Like, I don't buy that.
That was never going to happen, brother.
No.
You had the two best players in basketball, and there's about Jesus Christ, even when Scotty's contract got bumped up, it's about a $31.5 million a year difference between the two of them. Good luck.
Yeah,
Tried to get them all back. Yeah, I'll bet you did. Nah, we talked about
that's
it before.
some total revisionist history going on, because Phil was just like, I told you, y'all told me I was gone, and when y'all told me I was gone, I was gone.
Yeah,
and that's
seriously.
why, that this documentary that's going to be made all these years later will be called The Last Dance, because that's what y'all told me it was. So.
Yeah, I can totally dig it. I think that it's one of the things I will give Michael and Scotty and all the rest of them credit for is, he'll never come out and say it now. But the fact that you loaded up your tent and went home again, right in time with Phil, you can say Phil was overrated if you want to. You don't have to give Phil credit in public, but you quit again. And I don't blame him. I would have done it too. Holy crap, because I don't think any of them would have ever done it without each other. Certainly not like that. But it's like, when I talk about that capital letter, the capital letter in the Bulls dynasty, in my opinion, is a P. Because, by God, if you ain't got Phil, nothing else, I don't give a shit. You can clone Michael Jordan. You can have two of them out there. You can have him play in every position. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They'll just kill each other. All
this rebuilding that Krause had, he didn't pass away when Michael left. They never even came close to it.
Nah, man, I think the Bulls have had two. Man, maybe two. It might just be the one. I think that they've had a couple of, like, Derrick Rose's MVP season and stuff like that. Those were good teams, but that was a good team in the same sense that Mike Budenholzer won 60 games with the Hawks one year. Well, that Hawks team was never going to win a championship. No, we weren't, because we didn't play enough defense. But, boy, they were fun as hell. But on that same I think the Bulls have had one overwhelmingly fun season since then. And, man, it's just like, but part of it is, and I do this a lot with a lot of things, is Michael Jordan is the most protected sports entity in the country. He just is. So everybody thinking Tommy Brady's going to go down to Tampa and win another Super Bowl ring, I don't know if he will or not. I think six might be the magic number. I don't know. I just don't necessarily see anybody getting over that ever again, because they're talking about revisionist history. We like to pretend that's the most ever. Oh, Michael scored the most ever and did the most ever. And a lot of, just things like that happen where Bayless was talking some junk the other day about those weren't do or die shots. It's not crunch time. It's not do or die. I'm like, oh, you mean like Game 7? One of those things that Michael never played in the finals? Ever. Game 6. Yeah, Carlton Fisk hit a big home run in a Game 6. How'd that turn out?
Yep.
Doesn't matter, man. It's serious. I hate that. That is still, in my opinion, the two most overrated moments in sports, in my opinion, in order, reverse order. Jordan over Craig Elo. People only like that because the camera work was so good. Because it's great. Because Jordan's so pretty. Like, just the way he plays, it's so nice. He's got the good form and hits the shot and does the whole thing. But tell me, being in Atlanta, you know what I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm.
How many people still talk about Francisco Cabrera like that was the first pennant? What? That was 92.
Yeah.
Exactly. That was the second pennant. That was like, oh my God, we're doing this again. But it gets conflated and it gets mixed up, and it's the same thing. People will tell you that Jordan over Elo won a championship. Didn't win a conference championship. It might have been the conference. No, I don't think it. No, it didn't. That was 1989. They didn't even make it to the finals that year. But people just change stuff, and I'm like, all right, man.
Yeah.
But anyway, Carlton Fisk home run is infinitely more overrated than that, because my God.
Just delayed the inevitable.
Yeah, and on the subject of that's what you kill Ken Burns for, man, is all that Red Sox bullshit in the 10th inning. That's like, okay, all right.
Yeah. Now who's biased, Ken?
Oh, that's exactly the point. The Pedro Martinez stuff is great. That's like the 10th inning really was quite good. It's one of the very, very rare, almost fair takes on Barry Bonds, because they don't try and pretend that Bonds, as we, again, more revisionist history, we try and pretend that, well, the steroid era was Barry Bonds hitting home runs. It's like, Oh, Barry Bonds simply put the E in PEDs. That's what it looks like when you enhance your performance. When you're the best
Yeah.
fucking player in the world, and then
Yeah.
you start taking drugs, you will do things no one else has ever seen, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Because that's crazy. Well, Mark McGwire hit 70 home runs. Yeah, and he hit about 280 that year too.
Mhm.
Bonds was hitting 350. His on-base percentage was shocking. It's crazy. One of the things from
It
that
was
big
either a
season,
home run or a walk for
or
a year.
or a strikeout. You can go sit
Yeah.
your overrated. God, McGuire's so overrated. I hate that guy so much. It was one of my favorite pieces of justice.
That's how Barry Bonds' average was so crazy. How it was like literally, he was either going to get walked,
Oh, I
hit it
got you.
out,
I got
or
you.
you know,
Dude, there was a stat to prove your point. There was a statistic from that season. I'm pretty sure, and I might have the numbers wrong, but it was like, man, if you take I think it was 02, 01 or 02, whatever year he hit so many, it's an overrated season because 93 is the best year he ever had anyway, and that was way before he knew what syringes were. But anyway, if you take that season and lob off everything, if it's give him all the singles, all the home runs, and his walks, take all the doubles, all the triples away from him, man. His oh man, I think it was OPS. It's like 1600. It's insane. It's like the second highest OPS in the history of baseball. If you take extra base hits away, it's like, oh my God, man. So when you factor them in, of course, it's like this is not human, but that is the point. You know, performance enhancing drugs. Now, for a lot of those guys, it was performance get me off this AA bus drugs. They needed them to get where they were. When you enhance ability like that, that's what it looks like. You start seeing these ridiculous, gaudy, this can't be real numbers because they weren't real. Oh my Lord. But that wasn't even that fun. The sorry. That Giants World Series team was kind of fun. Russ Ortiz was out there, and Benny Santiago was the catcher, and they were kind of fun, man. But Bonds, it's like you said, it was a home run or a walk. It got really boring after a while. So that's just, but that's not peak Barry. Peak Barry, I thought, was when he first got to San Francisco that first year. 93, man. Holy crap, what a season. Might be the best individual season I've ever seen anybody have from afar. Now, as far as like living in Atlanta, it's tricky, man. It's tricky. I still think Gary Sheffield in 2003 might have had the single best season I've ever seen, man. And it's crazy, too, because as good as Chef was, I've never been a Javier Lopez fan, and you know it. But his 2003 was shocking. His offensive numbers were just unbelievable, man. Like, God dang, Javi, go on, man.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, got way afield. We're talking about the Last Dance with Michael Jordan and Javier Lopez.
Javi,
Javi.
get down. Man, did you have any thoughts on the Dark Side of the Ring Owen Hart episode?
I did. I enjoyed it because it's just this dark side. We like them.
Yeah.
What'd you think, man?
Man, it was that good stuff, man. And there's he'll avoid the end of the season, brother. He'll avoid the end of the season.
That's a good point.
And enjoyed the heck out of it. But there was a few things that I thought were odd about it. It was nice to finally hear Martha and hear her side of the story. But then there was a lot that she kind of let through. You can tell she's been around the Harts because she's weird. She's out there. You got to be crazy to roll with that crew. That's just the facts of the matter. But there was this. I only watched it once, and I probably should go back and watch it again, just because there was a weird thing to watch the episode. They lead you to believe this was said from the funeral proceedings, where it makes you kind of wonder, like, maybe she does. It's more salt in the wound of her having an axe to grind with the WWE. And that's putting it, lightly. Where she just keeps saying there'll be a day of reckoning. There'll be a day of reckoning for Owen. And to watch the episode, it it leads you to believe that this was said from the pulpit of the funeral. And I'm like, surely they wouldn't have her speak at the funeral, but she may have done it. I don't know. But then,
I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you.
No, but then that just makes me think, like, is that them calling their video game Day of Reckoning of "Here's to you" to Martha? That's with me.
It was very strange because I was going to say, as far as speaking at the funeral and the Day of Reckoning quote, and I'm with you, I've only seen it once. I got the exact same impression, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm totally with you. I have no idea if that's what was going on or not, but that's what I felt like. So it's interesting to hear you say that because I'm like, yeah, brother, I know exactly what you mean because I thought the same thing, and I'm like, oh man, I gotta watch it again.
I got kind of chills about it. Like,
I don't want to, but I shouldn't say I don't want to. It was quite good, and I thought that
most of the episodes I have found my way back around to watching them.
Yeah,
there are very few where I'm kind of like, I don't need to see that one again.
Yeah, if I skip them, it's usually just would be like not favorite status. It was okay. They're just that kind of thing. It's not like they're so disturbing you can't watch them again. But I thought that, and I could be wrong about this too, but it seemed to me that almost all the footage of Owen, and it would make sense that it would be like home video stuff, but I'm not. I guess what it sounds like I'm saying, I'm afraid, is that, well, it's home video stuff because Vince isn't going to give him anything, and that's not really what I mean. I think it's a much better decision to use the home video stuff and show the dude, and it really worked. It really worked. It was really nice.
If you use the stuff that you could get from Vince, like, I mean, you're still not going to know him the way you know him from that home video stuff.
Absolutely, because that's still character stuff. Totally, man. It was neat.
Talk about another odd way to bookend the season is it's amazing some of the foresight that some of these wrestlers had to walk around doing these video promos years before that was easy to do on your phone. You had to really work to do that, and as much home video stuff as they had of the Benoits, I was shocked at that. Like, where did they? I know where they got it, but who would have had the foresight to do that? Never thinking, this is going to be used in a documentary about my death and murder. Yeah. But maybe that was just a thing amongst the boys that was done. I think it was way cool, and it kind of really showed a side that's like, man, I totally get. It makes you understand Martha a little bit better.
I thought so too. I thought Martha came off just fine. I liked her, and the whole. As I've seen a couple of comments about her, and I read one comment about the daughter, and it's like, well, they're just bitter toward Vince, and I'm like, yeah, they are, especially the daughter, because she was a little thing when he died. This is like not somebody that she even really knows, and I'm like, yeah, I'll bet she is pretty mad about that. I thought.
Justifiably.
I thought they all came off just fine. I thought that his son, Owen, I think is his name, which is so cool. I've never heard that name before, but I like it. Yeah. He was great. Owen in that whole documentary, it was kind of like Cody Rhodes at the Hall of Fame, which people act like now they don't remember. But I remember very specifically talking with Chacho about it because Chacho watched the Hall of Fame, and he's like, Dusty's youngest kid is going to blow the business away. Listen to him talk. And I was like, you're right. And that was way before he got in. But, and I'm not saying that Hart's going to be a wrestler. It's just there's a presence about him, and it's like, yeah, right on with this guy.
He's made it very clear that he is taking a different path.
Oh, yes. Yeah, absolutely. But it's like, these guys are cool. I liked it. I was totally cool with it. And I thought Cornette made this point, and I was happy that he did. And he was like, can we please get out of Martha Hart's butt now about the Hall of Fame? Because he's made it clear. It's like, they don't owe you anything. And I agree with that. It's all like, well, it's just a shame that she won't let him go to the Hall of Fame for the fans. What the hell else they don't owe us nothing, man. Get out of here. So I thought that was cool. I was glad that was said because I had never heard that before. I was just like, well, okay, I don't know. It's maybe she just don't want anything to do with the company. And then it's all like, yeah, I don't want anything to do with the company. Like, oh, yes, ma'am, I understand. It's like once you hear it, it's like, yes, oh yeah, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, and it's, even if there was an actual physical Hall of Fame, and still, it's nothing to be. I don't want this company to be celebrated in the slightest.
Yeah, I can dig it, man. I can dig it
Mhm.
because it's like it's really for me anyway, and I know I'm very biased because I'm not a Vince guy, but when they show that rigging, that little hook thing, it's like, oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
negligent homicide, baby. I don't care how you try and cut it. That's on you. So her being mad
yeah.
about that, all you gotta do is see that thing, and it's like, okay,
What? Yeah.
yeah, for real. But
When if you can flip it open with your finger
yeah,
and very little pressure, it's like Jesus Christ.
seriously,
That's-
man. But this might have been Marty and Sarah. I don't remember who it was now. I listened to a couple of Marty and Sarah shows, and the first one I listened to was the one. Anyone that's a Marty and Sarah fan, if you listen to the shows, it was the one where the sound was like this. And I don't mean to pick on them because they have said people killed them for it, but it was just, it was good. It was just, she sounded fine. But Marty's microphone, he was using a new one, so his level was real low. And man, if you turned that junk up loud enough to hear him, your head exploded. And it wasn't her fault. It's like she was
Yeah,
yelling. It's just like it was really unbalanced. But it happened once. They had it totally fixed
yeah.
for the next episode, and it was totally okay. But I think it was them that made the
Mhm.
point like, okay, so they changed the rigging apparatus because it was real clunky and cumbersome and awkward for him to get out of it.
Mhm.
But at the same time, they're mocking Sting. So why would you not just pile on and make it even more ridiculous? And I'm like, that's a good idea. Make his head
Yeah.
like floating around, not being able to get out of this thing. I'm like, you guys, y'all nailed that. That's a great. If you're trying to
steer
make a joke out of it, they're
steer into it.
yeah.
Steer into it.
Seriously, it's like that's a really good point, man. It's like, God, why wouldn't you just put him up in two of them? You know?
He's the character's the Blue Blazer for starters. He's supposed to be a bumbling kind of retard.
Yeah, it's. I always liked the Blazer. And this is I hope this doesn't sound as dumb as I think it's going to, but the Blue Blazer had an awful lot of Kurt Angle in him, I thought, in the
Mhm.
sense that Kurt is Mr. Olympic hero and yeah, eat your integrities. And it was just so straight line, so clean, and just, it was all good. But then when the bell rung, he's the baddest guy in the world. And I love that. It's like
Mhm.
Dalton Castle now. I love Dalton being this like Liberace style rock star from the 70s. That guy can legitimately go. It's very, very cool. I think that's real neat. In the Blazer, it wasn't like him. He could wrestle. He was awesome. But with the Blazer in particular, it was more aerial stuff, which especially at that time, I had never seen stuff like that before. So it's just comedy definitely has a place in wrestling, man. But especially when you get guys that don't have the big head and aren't concerned with looking cool, and it's all like, man, I know what I can do, so let's entertain these people. That's what it made me think of watching him, because you're right, it's supposed to be this goofy, silly cartoon character, and then he starts doing like there's just several things he could do that were really impressive, and like, God, that's a cool dynamic.
Yeah, and I guess that's when I in my impressions of Martha being kind of out there and a little bit on the crazy side. When you hear the story of her, and part of it is you have to give her props for being a a boss bee when she kind of took control of the situation. And who is able to get to an arena that quick and that fast to get those photos made? I guess the crazy part to me was taking your kids up on the catwalk and going out. But basically, and I don't know if that was, you know, part of the this ring has to stay up because now it's part of an investigation, or what the deal is. But you can see like the freaking brain spot still sitting there in the corner. That was like, man, that's just I couldn't imagine uh, having to get up there and take those photos and be, oh yeah, that happened to me. That's my family that happened to. So I don't mean to make her sound bad at all, but it was just one of those kind of wild kind of things. Like, man, I just could not imagine being in that situation and being able to do that. Number one, let alone having to do that. So, you know, that's the point I was trying to make was as far as that goes.
The impression I got about the catwalk thing was it's just another impression like we're talking about. It seemed to me that her take on it was one of those I have to do this kind of things. And
Yeah.
as far as the kids, as far as Oj, yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Where I could be totally wrong, but there was just something about them. The impression I got is that how do I say it? If she understands within herself, this is something I have to do, and this little dude is half her, she could
Yeah.
understand him having to do it too. I don't know if that
Mm.
makes sense or not, man, but I think that's kind of like quite respectful of your kids and like, yeah, okay, I get it. I have to do it, so I understand you. Maybe that's not what they were going for at all, but it was neat. I was glad to come away with that impression because I just liked all three of them. I thought they were very cool, and I enjoyed
Yeah.
that show like, quite a bit. It's weird. It's kind of, kids are odd because most of the kids in Dark Side of the Ring are quite cool. Like I thought the Von Erichs, they're not really in it very much, but that was all cool. I think that's neat. The guys training up, and it was this is cool, man. I enjoy it. But I will tell you, man, I am glad that it's not my responsibility to pay the Godfather's fee for being in Dark Side of the Ring this year because that cat was in every episode, man. It's like,
Yeah.
dude, I just did not realize how integral he was to. I mean, like he said he was in the Hall of Fame, which I can't believe. I cannot believe the Godfather got in the Hall of Fame. But okay, it's I don't
Yeah.
mean to pick on him
It
because I
happened.
love Papa Shango. I thought that was really cool, and he was one of those guys that just it's like Darso Smash, man. He just that guy was always around. He was always doing something like cool. All right, man.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with it. I just
But that's the impression that you're giving us. Like, is we didn't put Papa Shango in, we put the Godfather in.
oh yeah,
You know,
yeah, man.
it's like,
So
oh,
I'm cool with
fine.
Charles Wright
I like
being in
Papa
there.
Shango better.
Oh, me too. I'm cool with Charles Wright being in there, but I guess you can't put Papa Shango in there because of whatever that match was where he was supposed to run down to the ring and he didn't do it. And I'm like, hey man, y'all's
Yeah.
timing gets messed up when you get in the freaking big arenas. He'd have to start 2 days early to get down there.
Yeah.
You gotta have that little motorized ring. That's where you messed up. Y'all could have given him his Shango mobile.
For real.
I could give
Make
him
me supposed to run down and get excited about working with the Ultimate Warrior.
kind of get
You
out of
crazy.
here, man. I could give him Shotzi Blackheart's tank. I was
Mhm.
happy in the promo where Shotzi actually had her the reprisal of Tank Girl, which I hope somebody's going to see that because we talked about like comic book movies. I read an article actually. Well, I wish I remember who wrote that or where it was published anyway. But it was comic book movies that should get another day in court or somebody somebody was like, man, Tank Girl really should get remade, and I'm like. That's a good point. You could do really good stuff with that now. So, but that's literally what that looked like. Is like you are trying to be cast as Tank Girl. I don't mean to diss Shotzi. It's just she's all right. I mean,
Mhm.
it's not her
That
fault.
role is mine.
That division is so good. I mean, it's hard to stand, not hard to stand out, but it's. I ain't gonna come out and say Shotzi Blackheart's the best woman in the company, but there's still tons of room for her to be real good. It's just she's okay. All right, this is cool, and it's all good because you don't have to be the best in the world immediately. But God, who did Rhea wrestle the other day? Oh, it's her and Io, man. And they messed it
Oh
up
yeah.
because they had the Charlotte run in, because of course they did. But boy, up till I guess it's the ending you got to have. But that was really good. I was just enjoying the crap out of that, man. It was awesome.
Yeah, man. And I'll talk about like some of the other like crazy, sad news. As EO had some pretty cool tweets about. I mean to call it cool, but there's some of the other deaths that happened in uh, the world of wrestling this week. She was talking about just like apparently they were pretty tight with each other, but it's, I don't know why my mind went to that.
Oh, we were talking about it earlier, man. That it's just it was strange because with watching, excuse me, the Owen Hart Dark Side of the Ring. There was the link, if you will, between him and Shad that we talked about, where I
Yeah.
think it was Cornette telling the story, and I'm pretty sure that Foley's book talked an awful lot about how there were like first-person accounts that Owen's last words were him trying to help people out, literally him telling people to get out of the way, which is
Yeah.
fascinating and shocking and heroic and awesome. And
Mhm.
that's how you jump over to Shad Gaspard, where
Yeah.
every story is that, man, they got to him first, and all he cared about was them getting his kid. And it's just like,
Yeah.
man,
It,
I
it,
just think that's awesome. That's
it just
awesome.
kind of it gives you that feeling of like he's like, man, I've I've had a run, and if I make it or not, make sure he does.
Totally, man. It
Yeah,
was, and I apologize for switching gears, but we're going to talk about both of them anyway. But
yeah,
yeah, we were just discussing that between watching the replay of Owen, and then you hear about Shad, and I swear to God, I forgot her freaking name again because I'm a complete jerk, but I just don't know her, so I didn't know her work. But that
hmm
story just, I was telling Jared, I don't think I can remember two more depressing wrestling deaths, especially not right on top of each other ever. But I just,
hmm
people are just so weird about that social media stuff. People they just don't get it. They don't get it. It's like weaponized, monetized negativity, and it never, ever, ever stops. So this whole,
hmm
well, people committing suicide over Facebook, yeah, yes, they are. They are, because it's like,
Yes.
man, people get inside your head like that, and it's just like, I don't know. That whole thing just makes me furious, man, because I hate stuff
hmm
like that. I don't know why people. Well, I do actually. I was gonna say I don't know why people feel the need to be such dicks, but the thing is, like we said, with social media marketing, that's how you get it. It's literally
hmm
we collectively as a species are back in the third grade classroom, and that jackass at the back of the class, who's the loud little shit, is whipping his dick out and throwing it on the table and gets all the attention. People have found a
hmm
way to make money off that now, and that's how come it's so relentless. And man, why can't we just get on social media and be good to each other? Well, that's why. Because marketing doesn't. You don't make any money off being nice, and it
Yeah.
sucks. I can't stand that we've devolved into that, but that's literally what happened. It's like, nah, man, I make money on social media off of impressions. So much easier to make a negative impression. That's just how it
hmm
works. And I'm like, y'all suck so bad. But seriously, those two stories, I don't know which one of them I'm more depressed. Well, I guess it would be her because Shad is very, very sad, but at the same time, there's
It's a
the
little bit
heroic.
of a like,
Yeah, there's the
yeah,
heroic angle too. You're right.
yeah, man. So that's I heard a lot of and talk about a guy that when it come to his run, I was kind of like whatever, but just to hear a story like that, like man, how do you not feel good about a guy like that? It's like
Yeah,
man,
man.
that was a good situation, you know.
Sorry, I'm moving around over here too much. I apologize.
Oh man, that's cool.
It's it just sucks. I'm with you both, and I really do
Yeah,
feel bad that I can say Shad Gaspard's name and I can't tell you her name for nothing. She was 22,
hmm
also, wasn't she? I mean, she was just a freaking baby,
super
man.
young, super young.
Ugh, I
You know,
hate stuff like that.
it was one of those kind of things like this when the second you hear about some of them and you hear the age, that's immediately what you go to. Is like it was one or the other. It was drugs or she did it herself.
It's
I
interesting.
don't know why. There's just something about that age that I heard. I was like, oh no, this
It's
I don't think this was the COVID.
oh yeah, oh no 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 no, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
no,
It's a strange thing, man, because like wrestler deaths and wrestler deaths. Oh my God, wrestler deaths. That's the drug thing is a Vince thing. I mean, people get mad when you
yeah,
say that, but I don't care. Vince keeps them on the road like farm animals 340 days out of the year. That's where I mean, the Von Erichs did it to themselves, but that's because it was the Party
mm,
Boy 80s, and it's one of the reasons that the legacy of world class is still what it is because that way you can I don't know. Look at this. Oh my God, world class. Well, it was the 80s, and those kids all had way too much money, and they shot themselves. They killed themselves. But everybody else, that's all Vince. That's just Vince being ridiculous about his schedule, man, because you really don't have that problem anywhere else. But doing yourself in, on the other hand, unfortunately, you're absolutely right. It's anybody that
mm,
young going, and it's like, it sucks that that's a phenomenon, but it is. You're right.
yeah. That's what's up, man.
It sucks, man.
Well, shoot, man. That's about all I've been doing this weekend.
Um,
my, my Memorial Day,
about
drinking drinks and watching wrestling.
yeah, about all I've gotten up to lately, man, is the second season of Dead to Me on Netflix came out. And
Cool.
I loved that first year. That was the Christina Applegate and Linda Cardellini. I always
Mm,
want to say Linda Fiorentini, who
yeah.
was the main character in Dogma. It's Linda
Yeah.
Cardellini. I always have to stop and correct myself. But anyway, it's typical Netflix fashion in that if somebody is in it and they have the EP credit, I'm going to watch it because that means they put their money into it and they believe in it, and there's a lot of creativity, a lot of really unique stories that come out of that stuff. I have yet to miss, and they're lousy with it. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
But I
It
really
feels like
like.
is that the telltale sign of like this is the project that at least for a little while the networks turned down,
Yes.
and now that's now you go to Netflix first, but
Yes.
for a certain time period, like this is what got turned down, and I'm going to show you why they're going to regret it.
Absolutely. It's literally 90s Miramax motion pictures on TV. It's literally what it is, man. When you get shot down and turned down by everybody and you don't want to compromise, you wind up on Netflix, you wind up on HBO, and it's like that's why they are what they are now. And it goes back to that thing that makes me so mad where AEW crapped the bed by, no, we're going to have exclusive contracts and they're going to be independent contractors, baby. If you would have taken a wrecking ball to that system right now, they're already doing great because, like we talked about, the only thing AEW had to do was get that extension from TNT, and they already got it. It took them
Yeah.
no time. I think it was less than 4 months, and they wasn't 4 months, 3 months, and they got that 4-year extension. And it's like, Corny, Brian, y'all can talk as much crap as you want to now, man. It's not going to matter. It won't
Yeah.
matter, dadgummit, because the whole thing is, well, everybody's got them guaranteed contracts. Yeah, they do, which means that if TNT pulls the plug tomorrow, you're still paying for 4 years. They're not going to do that for nothing. They're not going to pay that
Yeah.
kind of money for nothing. Get out of here. Anyway, I've gotten way sidetracked.
That,
But
that
yes,
reminds me of you talking about Marty and Sarah. I'm pretty sure it was them that made this joke, but I didn't watch the show last night. But I think it was them that were talking like, don't you kind of hope that the TNT title is just the TNT logo on the belt?
that's kind of what I thought they were going to do, and it was very interesting to me how much everybody hated that belt because it's so plain. There's no etching and la-di-da and stuff like that, and I'm like, I could be wrong because this is a work in progress. The color scheme I love. The silver and red I think is great because the idea of, well, it needs to be gold. It's got to be gold. Is it a world title? Then no, it doesn't need to be gold. I like silver
Yeah.
belts better anyway. But yeah, it's like
Yeah.
super plain and all that stuff. But as far as the corporate TNT logo, I'm like, I don't think that's going to get much more fancy. That's copyrighted. And so when they said it was the TNT title, I think that was kind of to be expected. But the biggest problem I've
Yeah.
got is that it's the worst title ever. This makes the 24/7 title look great. No, the 24/7 title is garbage. I love the shape of it and the weird design of it is cool, but that gigantic 247, it's like, okay, that and the
Yeah.
TNT title are in a tie for crap. But it doesn't
It's,
bother me. I love the red strap primarily just because it's a nice throwback to the old NWA TV title. That's great, man. It's cool. I like it.
yeah.
I mean, it's not pretty, but they also said they ain't done with it, so we'll see.
Yeah. Anyway, that's
Yeah.
the one
Oh,
thing I remembered about last
oh,
night. I didn't watch that.
I didn't either because it's just they're still, unfortunately, I promise I'll finish up with Dead to Me in a second, but they're still in that unfortunate position of the pay-per-views cost too much for me to invest in it because it's just
Mhm.
there's a lot of stuff in AEW that I like. There's nothing that I like. I guess. Darn, I'm sorry. I'll come back to that in a second, I promise, because I got reviews for that too. I shouldn't say review. I didn't watch it, but I watched people watch it. It was fun.
Yeah.
But anyway, Dead to Me season 2 is. I liked it a lot. It's still very in the post Game of Thrones era where people just want to go M Night Shyamalan and, oh, didn't see that coming. Oh, look at that. Oh, cliffhanger. Oh. The ones that they used in season 1 all made sense. The ones they use in season 2, not only do they make sense, but they might be even better. And it's cool because it's not. I always use the example. I talked with my buddy Aaron about this a lot because he's a fan, and my mom is the biggest Agatha Christie fan that I know. And Christie really did invent the murder mystery template of like they'll tell you all the way throughout who it was that killed this person, and I don't pick it up. And then once they reveal it to you, if you go back and read it again, you can see it was right there, it was right there, it was right there. They don't do that sneaky George Martin stuff where it's like ho ho hee hee out of left field. It's like there's no skill in that. But man, if you can point blank tell me who did this and I don't see it until you show it to me and then I can't not see it, that's cool. That's not really what
Yeah.
they do either, because some of the stuff is from out of nowhere, but it's not stupid out of nowhere. It's
Mm.
cool. It was a good series. And there's one thing. This is really dumb to get hung up on this one thing, but I'm going to get hung up on this one thing because all the criticism that I read anymore about Netflix anything is, well, the problem with Netflix now is you just have to have the tropey, like, same-sex couple. Everything now has to have, like, queer characters. And I'm like, yeah, this is the reason the networks turned it down. It's the reason everybody's showing up now. But they did something that I thought was brilliant, and I loved it, and I will tell you what that is now. They brought in Natalie Morales, I'm pretty sure is her name. If you've ever watched Parks and Rec, um, she is that staggeringly. She's Natalie Morales. I'm pretty sure that's her name. I should know her name. I know what she looks like. She is just staggeringly lovely. But she was one of Tom's girlfriends on Parks and Rec. She was in I think it was The Grinder, the Rob Lowe, Fred Savage lawyer show, which was a lot better than I thought it would be. I couldn't believe how much I liked it, but I think Rob Lowe's hilarious anyway. But she was in that.
Yeah.
She shows up in lots of stuff. When you see her, it's like, oh, yeah, I know her. Her character shows up. Her character is gay. Her and Linda Cardellini start hanging out, and they kind of wind up, well, not kind of, they wind up in a relationship. This is the thing that they wound up doing that I thought was awesome. Awesome. To my knowledge, there has been zero mention of Linda Cardellini's character being bisexual up till now. After her and Natalie Morales get together, there is zero mention of, oh, you're dating girls now? And the thing that I love about it is that you had this character who apparently was bi this whole time. No big deal is made out of it. It's not a problem. It's not a surprise to Christina Applegate. And I just thought to not shoot fireworks over off of that, to have this character and to decide, yes, this character is going to be bi. Oh, you know what? She always was. Let's go on. Awesome. That was so well done. I was very, very impressed because, again, the criticism of stuff like that is, you just got to flaunt it and make this huge deal about it. And I'm like, I think this is awesome to have this whole world operating. Oh, we know. That's cool. And they never say that either. And I'm like, well done, guys. Primarily because I'm a complete jerk, but shows that don't just insult the crap out of your intelligence and that realize if we do it this way, the people watching the show will get that, oh, well, we didn't know, but they all knew. Okay. That's cool. It was very cool. And that's obviously not the best thing about the episode or about the season. The best thing about the season is, let me get it right. There's an actor named James Marsden. I'm pretty sure that's the guy that played Spike on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Then there is James Marsters, who played Cyclops in the X-Men movies.
Yeah.
The thing about James Marsters, and I always have to stop and think about which one I'm talking about, and that sucks, but that guy has, I mentioned Rob Lowe a minute ago. There's Carl Weathers. These are people that have done, Rob Lowe was the Hollywood pretty boy, and then turns out the guy's hilarious. Carl Weathers, action movie guy, Apollo Creed, hung out with Arnold in the Jungle and Predator. The guy could not be funnier. So I love people that are given like a second act in their careers. James Marsters, I do it every time. Well, he wound up towards the end of the 30 Rock. He got a role on that show. And I don't know what it was in his audition, or I don't know who it was, but they realized that guy is hilarious, absolutely hilarious. And in the first season, he was the boyfriend of Linda Cardellini, and he's a complete prick. And you don't like him, and he winds up dead, and that's kind of where we're doing on the second season. It's like, okay, how are we going to do this? Well, I think it's episode 2, he winds up at the front door. And of course, it turns out he has a twin brother, and his twin brother's like super nice and a good guy, and it's all cool. And now him and Christina Applegate are starting to go up. But having James Marsters come back and play the totally opposite of what he did the first season, that to me is the highlight. It's so good to see. Well, one of the highlights. The main highlight is Christina Applegate, to the surprise of no one, between Kelly Bundy and Anchorman, know how hilarious she is, but it's the style of comedy that this character is, man. Nothing like anything I've seen her do before. They are so good, man. I know we're Linda Cardellini marks because of Lindsay Weir, And so it's just
Yeah.
like, dude,
Yeah.
it is a good show. I love it. And I was really impressed with it because I liked the first season, but I loved the second one. I'm sorry I gave away so much of the stuff, but it's still them doing it's better than me talking about it. So it was great. I really liked it.
Cool.
Heck yeah.
Get around to checking that one out.
Oh yes, it'll take care of it. It's good, man.
Cool.
Now we can talk about the TNT Championship, and that would be hilarious. If I thought that the TNT Championship should just be, I wish they would do side plates of Chuck and Ernie
Drama.
and Jet and Shaq. Yeah, drama,
Yep.
drama right across the top of it.
Yeah. I'd work. Have a little Ernie Johnson on the belt.
That's what I'm telling you. It would be so cool to have the side plates, and it's just all the TNT guys. That'd be great.
I watched part of the Phil Mickelson, Tiger, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning golf thing today, and it took me forever to realize who Tom Brady was talking to because they had the camera set up in the golf carts and the guys following around had mics, and he kept. Oh, one of the shots that Brady hit was really, really good, and he was like, so he was giving his suck on it Chuck or whatever he said Chuck thing, and then it dawned on me like Charles Barkley was doing part of the broadcast. Like, oh, that's who he was talking to. It's like who is he? Who is he talking to? And it took me forever to realize. Oh,
That's who.
I'm not smart.
Well, it's okay. With all this going on, you can't have it all. I'm glad you brought Chuck back up because I think I might have said. I'm afraid now that I got my names wrong a minute ago, so I'm going to say it again just to make sure I get it right. But I'm with you. I want side plates of Shaq and Chuck and Ernie and Jet. That's what I think I said Shaq twice a minute ago, and I meant to say Chuck once. And I feel bad because I like Barkley. Barkley, despite it's interesting, man, because Charles is I love Charles. I think he's obviously he's entertaining as hell. Charles Barkley, in my opinion, has a bit of a George Foreman vibe, only in the sense that their careers after they stop playing they're so identified with what they did that it's easy to forget how good those guys were. I mean, Foreman was an absolute killer in his day. He was a killer. And then Chuck was the same way. I mean, it's weird because Charles played at the same time as Karl Malone, and everyone will tell you Malone was the best power forward in the history of the game till Tim Duncan came along. And Karl Malone was a bad guy. Chuck was a bad guy too, man. So it's like, cool, all right, that's neat, man. And it's not a big deal. I mean, hey, I'm glad people know who he is, but I had a lot of fun watching him play. I like Barkley, man. He was cool, and he's an Auburn guy, so I can't dislike him. I gotta like him at least a little bit.
Yeah, man. I always like that dude.
Yeah, man. So I'm going to babble about this AEW show as long as you're cool with it. You cool with discussing the TNT garbage title?
Oh yeah, man.
Like I said, I'm not in a position to buy these because I don't know. I just don't like the promotion that much. But it was fun following it and finding out what the shows were and listening to reviews and things like that. And I'm really sorry to not be able to give more details on this, but I came across these two dudes that were reviewing it. This is a genuine review after it was over. And I'm like, cool, because like the live watch along stuff, if I'm not watching it, we ain't watching along. So sometimes it doesn't work. And it's like, okay. But the review's cool. We know what happened. You can tell me what happened. It was all good. But the one I was watching, it was two dudes. I don't know either one of them, but they had Matt Morgan on with them. And it was fascinating because I've never heard Matt Morgan talk before, not like that. And you can tell he's a corny guy as far as like his mentality and his attitude about the business. You can tell who broke him in is what I mean. But I really enjoyed his commentary on a lot of things. I completely agreed with him on, I'm skipping over the first match, but I agree with him completely on Sheeta and Nyla Rose. I don't know what they're doing. I thought it took them too long to put the belt on Nyla, and they took it off way too. I just don't get it. If you want your monster heel to kill everybody, you need to leave that belt there. And if you don't want her to go on a run killing everybody, don't give her the title. That just seemed weird to me. And it's got nothing to do with Akira Shida. I think she's quite good, but I don't know. I don't think it's a bad idea to have Shida be your initial champ. because she's good at working with lots of people, and you can bring the division along like that. That's what I would have done, was pick one of my vets, made them the champ, because I don't mean to diss Rio, but Rio's not really a vet. Well, it's got all them experience. It's okay, but she ain't an experience. It's fine. She got started when she was 9 years old, man. So it's like, that doesn't necessarily mean experience. I'm not talking about experience taking bumps and doing moves and walking to the ring. I'm talking about experience of making people better, making people look better. Find you a vet.
Over here,
Find you a vet. Find you a vet. And that's my whole thing, is like, I don't care if you've done it here or not, because anybody that's been here, they're all in WWE unless they're Tessa Blanchard, which I probably would have broke the bank signing Tessa Blanchard. I think the reason they didn't is that maybe that's what it would have required, because obviously Impact had big plans for her. So if you're going to get her out of there, and then also the exclusivity thing would not fly with her, because she did Impact and she's doing the WoW show, and it's like, okay, you can tell her that she's property if you want to, but she's going to say no. But anyhow, I know Kenny's obsessed with Japan, and he should be. And that's the whole point, is there are tons of Japanese veterans. See, Ring of Honor got this right. When they brought their women's championship in, Sumi Sakai was the first champ. It's because they knew what they were doing. Sorry, y'all. Give it to the veteran. The vet can work all kinds of people, and you can build angles there, and then you can move it along when it's time. I wish that's what they would have done, and maybe it's what they're going to do now, but I hate that Nyla Rose got beat. It seems anticlimactic, and that's a bummer. Mm-hmm. But I skipped over it, and that was his point too, is he's like, because he's a big guy, and so he feels bad that bigs don't get used properly. But anyway, the main thing about Matt Morgan, and I swear I'll talk about this show, was him discussing the Facebook cyberbullying and the suicide and things like that. It was fantastic. Like, what he had to say was really, really, really good. And I was like, man, go on, brother. I'm glad I caught that.
Cool.
Anyway, sorry, sidetracked. I feel stupid talking about the show because I didn't see it, but apparently the ladder match was a ladder match. They're ladder matches. I'm not quite sure about bringing your new guy in and having him win. You know what? I think that Cody's a long-term booker. I think he's got a plan, and I'm like, well, okay, we'll see what's up, but I'm not quite sure about it, primarily because here's another jacked up big boy. And don't get me wrong, I understand why they're signing all these guys, because all you've heard is all petite wrestling. They're all so little. They're all just a bunch of little, prancy boys. Oh, it's all petite wrestling. So you're signing all these big dudes now. Okay, I get it. That's okay. The part I don't understand, though, is that on this show, you have Lance Murder Hawk Archer lose immediately. Cody winning the championship is the right idea, but him beating Archer for it made no sense. None. Have Archer get disqualified somewhere along the way for just murder hawking somebody. You get disqualified for murder hawking.
Going off murder hawk on that ass.
Seriously. And then your other big guy that you just signed, you feed to Moxley immediately, which again I think is a pretty good idea, because the whole deal, I get the same impression about Moxley's title run as Omega's title run with the IWGP. People are like really bummed because it's like, it doesn't feel as big as when it was Jericho. It's not as big as when it was Okada. That's right, because when Okada had the championship, you had Omega to feed to him over and over again. Now, you can't just do that. You can't just throw anybody in there for a championship shot, especially when all y'all whine so damn much about, well, wins and losses are supposed to matter. Okay, then. You're going to keep getting people that having that loss, it won't affect. It's no problem. But it's just weird to me that your two big guys debut on the show and both lose. I'm like, I don't know about that, man. But again, I think the way out of that is I don't think that Murder Hawk should have been in that match. But I'm getting sidetracked. Sorry about that. But I like the idea of the Brody Lee getting the title match. It's just anybody. They heard a lot of complaints about that, but it's like, who would it be for you? Who would you have wrestling Moxley for that title? Who would it be? Don't say MJF, because who's going to lose? Don't say Darby Allin, because who's going to lose? Don't say Orange Cassidy, because again, what do you want? That's the whole thing. Is like, dude, if y'all want Moxley to go out and kill everybody, okay, great, but he needs people he can kill. Because if he goes out and kills Orange Cassidy, he'll get booed out of the fucking building. It's as simple as that. I don't care how over you think Moxley is. He ain't more over than Orange Cassidy. So anyhow, all that stuff is silly and frustrating to me a little bit. Um, the man, I'm trying to not go immediately to the barnyard whatever match they had at the end, but I can't remember what. Oh, I know what it was. This was one of the surprises to me of the show was not that MJF and Jungle Boy was enjoyable. What surprises me is how many people have said the biggest surprise on the show was that MJF and Jungle Boy was enjoyable. I don't understand that at all. We've talked about that multiple times. I am of the mind, just because I'm not a stick guy, I think MJ, I was going to say MGM. I think
That's probably the
MJF's
only thing I would have bought it for.
me too. I'm the exact same way. It was the only thing I saw build where I'm like, now that I would like to see. I am totally with you, man. I completely agree. That was the one match that I'm like, I'll bet that's going to be good. But ultimately, I'm hoping it's going to be a stepping stone for MJF and Wardlow against Jurassic Express. And that'll probably be on TV. So I'm like, okay, I just got to set my recorder now for the upcoming shows so I don't miss it. But I'm totally with you because I was like, oh, okay, cool, pay-per-view. All right, whatever, that's cool, whatever. And they announced that one, and I'm like, oh, crap, that sounds cool. I'm right there with you, man. But, my thing is, I'm not a talk guy. Promos rarely ever do it for me. I think MJF is literally just Bully Ray with Chris Jericho's scarf. It's nothing special. It's not. I don't get it. I don't understand why everyone's flipping out so much. Most best promo in wrestling. Oh my God, he's such a great heel. He is a great heel, but he's a great heel bell to bell because he's chicken shit and he begs off and he cheats, and I like that kind of stuff. People are weird about. I don't know, man. Guys that want to look too strong as the heel infuriate me. You're the heel. Oh, I like when people hate me. Okay, then stop doing cool moves. You know what I'm saying? Randy Orton's the best heel in wrestling. Stop doing the RKO. You'll be a heel then. It's the same thing with the Young Bucks. Oh, the Young Bucks are great heels. I'm like, man. Come out and do wrist locks and side headlocks for 20 minutes. Bore the crap out of people. Don't give them anything they want. Then you're a heel, man. But I love that MJF's real good at that. And I'm glad that they had that match. I'm glad that people liked it so much. But it did surprise me. It's just like, oh, man, this guy can run. Yeah, he can. Yes, he can. He's very good. They're both very good. So that's cool, man. I don't remember what else happened. So I guess we'll just go to the – I thought the Wrestle Talk guys killed it. And they were like, man, this is the best match of the year, the best match of 2020, la-di-da. It's basically just a huge episode of being the Elite. And I'm like, that's exactly what I figured that match would be. And it's why I wasn't interested in it. But I'm glad they did it. Matt Hardy changing into different versions of himself don't bother me. That doesn't bother me. It's okay. And I do love that V1 came back because we've talked many times that V1 is clearly the most underrated version of Matt Hardy there is.
Yeah. The first version.
Dude, V1, the Matt Facts. I wish Shannon Moore would have shown up, but that's just me. But anyway, I'm glad people liked it so much. I think it's cool. And apparently, Hangman Page did a spot where he did the freaking buckshot lariat over the bar. I'm like, I would like to see that because that just sounds cool, man. Like, all right, go on then. But as far as him running down Sammy Guevara on the horse and all that, when they were on the show a couple of weeks ago, it's he comes running all the way down the field, and Lottie Die's like, man, why didn't they give him a horse? And it turns out they didn't give him a horse because that's for the pay-per-view, baby. So, okay, now it makes sense. We got to save that one, man. You got to pay if you want the equine.
My low battery thing just came on. I'm not sure if this is still recording or not.
It's no good.
But I think it got up to the point where you were talking about Hangman doing the lariat. So hopefully this is still working.
It says it is, but it's cool. But yeah, man, I'm just rattling on. I'm talking way too much, man. So we good.
Oh man, I was just double checking. I just want to be when it does it on this side, all I can see is it's like everything freezes. So I'm like, I don't know what's happening.
I don't know what's going on. I got the water all over myself.
I got them all over myself.
Yeah, I'm glad that people liked it so much. I think that's cool. It's cool.
Awesome. Heck yeah, man.
Yeah, man, we do.
That's what's up.
Indubitably, it is. Have a good one, y'all.
Man, I'm trying to see if I can get this thing to do right and not just totally Screw up. Okay. Oh, it is working. Okay. Well, now I'm really dumb.